Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Tiffany Ave Takes. And on today's episode, I am doing a review of Jamie Foxx comedy special What Had Happened Was. First of all, What Had Happened Was is the blackest title to ever exist on the planet. So that right there should help set the tone for the comedy special. Just a little backstory on me being a Jamie Foxx fan. So I used to watch Jamie Foxx show, the sitcom, the TV show, growing up casually. As an adult, when I discovered it on Netflix, like I found a newfound appreciation for that show. I feel like I have the biggest crush ever on Jamie Foxx on that show, just because he's just so funny, talented. Like I love the premise of the show. It's one of the fewer sitcoms that were about a family dynamic that didn't involve children, so I appreciate that as an adult, early 30s, childless, like its representation. Also, the element of family, like he had his aunt and uncle, when most shows just had like mother and father. So I appreciate those dynamics. um, Jamie Foxx has always given a good interview throughout his career. I followed it. Not so much of his movies though. I realized that during the comedy special when he started doing taking you down basically memory lane of his roles and stuff. I was like, oh, I am not familiar with this game for real. But mostly that's where my fanmanship comes from, the Jamie Foxx show. I feel like he has always spoke about in his comedy special, this is gonna come later a little bit more specifically, but in his comedy special, he talked about him liking white girls, and one he admitted. Usually people don't admit that type of thing. Like they're like, "Oh, I don't see where I'm doing anything. A woman is a woman," you know. But when it came to his film and his shows and his TV, he was always very adamant about displaying black women, especially darker skinned women in lead roles. Um, and I appreciated that because he always made it a point to do that. And I think that's important as a black man with your platform to showcase people that always don't get the representation that they need. So, aside what you do in your personal life, it's important what you do with your platform. His intro song was I'm on a New Level, ASAP Ferg, right? So I feel like that is important. I feel like the comedy show, as someone who has done comedy and stand up, I feel like the intro song is super important. I love the fact that the intro song is a part of the walkout. That's just one of my favorite parts about a comedy a comedy show, just period. Um, so getting into the special in the beginning, he became emotional, which is rightfully so. Like you had a near death experience. Like anyone who has commentary, negative commentary about him being emotional, it just shows your level for empathy. Because I did not watch any reviews prior to me watching and making my own takes, and then I started listening to the reviews, and I'm gonna talk about that later. But that's just my first thing that I have to say about that. Um, I feel like with me being a fan of the Jamie Foxx show, just to touch back on that, that show was perfectly crafted to showcase his talent. Like he did impressions on Jamie Foxx show. He did scenes from movies like randomly. Which is what makes it so funny, and I guess why I like that show. It's just unique in that way. And this comedy special to me felt like watching a modern day episode of just the Jamie Foxx show. Um, he did his impressions. He did the Cat Williams. He touched on the Diddy rumors and allegations. Everybody's saying they left the party early now, so do with that what you will. But what's funny about that is I remember interviews because I told you I watch a lot of Jamie Foxx interviews. He gives a good interview. Now, Jamie Foxx has been has done a lot of interviews talking about partying with Puff. That's all I'm saying. Like they had bits about the parties, so I'm gonna take what someone says and just go with that in both cases. All right. But his impressions, he did the Denzel, he did Cat Williams. Um, what was interesting, of course, it became serious at points when he talked about his journey with his health scare. And I like the balance of ups and downs in the show, right? Because it'll get serious, it'll get emotional, and he smoothly turns it into like comical, you know? Skill, okay? Um, it I was kind of hesitant to watch this special because strokes and health scares have been prominent in my life for like the past 5 or 6 years. Um, with a close member of my family who has, my mom to be exact, who has experienced like multiple strokes. So I knew that this would be kind of triggering for me. Um, but because I had experienced that, was eager to see how he would take that challenge and turn it into art and a comedic piece. So that's what drove me to watch it more than my hesitation. And he did not disappoint. It was important though because it also brings awareness, to challenges and the things that people go through with their health. And maybe it can help people be more sensitive towards those issues. And then maybe when people are seen, out and about and they're struggling to do something, handicapped, disabled, like you can kind of have a little more empathy for those people. Um, it is very, as someone who has witnessed the process of that, probably at a more critical rate than his scenario, but not like the worst that it could be. Um, I give him a round of applause for just being able to go up there and complete his special. People are very critical of his performance, but they don't know what majority of people don't know what someone has to go through to get back to that point. Like you see him up there, but that was not an easy journey. And I don't know his situation specifically, but I know that situation. And it's hard to go from, he talked about it, he had to learn to walk again. So maybe his symptoms were more physical than mental, but sometimes that's not the only case. Sometimes you have to learn to walk again. You have to learn to read, write, basic motor skills every day, that people do without even thinking about it. Like learning that over as an adult, and you still feel like your past self that was perfectly fine, and you're dealing with a new version of yourself that has to learn these things over, and sometimes you're in denial about like what's happening to you. So I've witnessed that firsthand multiple times. So when I watch him up there, like it's beautiful to see, him make recovery and be able to do that. It's truly a blessing. He would talk about the process, right? So going through therapy, and the lady Holly, which was hilarious. I'm not gonna say too much about it because I want you all to watch it. I don't want to like spoiler alert and ruin it. But just his children being there to support him, like going through something like that, it's critical to have a support system, whether it's professional team or your personal team. You're blessed if you have both that you can trust. Um, but one or the other is crucial. He also talked about questioning why something would happen to him like that. And I feel like anytime someone goes through like a medical issue, there's always that question of why them. But it's really every case is different, but it happens for a reason. In addition to, his actual words and set, I love the theatrics of the performance, you know, those small things. He talked about his daughter and the guitar and the heartbeat, and then he had the heartbeat playing behind him, and he brought out the daughter to play the guitar. Like that, I thought that was beautiful. He brought out the piano. When he brought out the piano, I was giddy because it's just something about a black man and a piano. Like Trump impression, flawless, like flawless. Like to still be able to have those skills after a stroke, basically what he was showing you, because it was a lot of rumors about him being cloned, and I feel like what he was showing you is that I'm me. You know, I've got this, my skills, my impressions, my comedy, my just his delivery, uniquely Jamie Foxx, and I really enjoyed it. Then he got on the part about, you know, recovery and, you know, what that was like when he was getting closer towards himself and reconnecting with people. He had a segment on Halle Berry, and just shout out to Halle Berry because Halle Berry has literally been having the guys in a frenzy for like decades. You know, and he was just talking about how gorgeous she is. And ironically, she just put out a statement saying that she wished people would say other things about her other than being beautiful. So just the timing of that was hilarious to me. He partied with the audience. Um, in the beginning, I talked about how he talked about the white girls or whatever, and he basically said, I mean, I'm gonna spoil this because I want to talk about this. He basically said he was cured from white girls, like. And I'm just like, okay, on one hand, yes, welcome back, Jamie. I feel like Dr. Umar. Snow bunnies never, black queens forever. But it took you a near death experience to realize you needed to date black women. Like, that's my black woman coming out. Because, sir, that's my take. Like, I feel like he did phenomenal. I think it's important to bring awareness to strokes and people who suffer with strokes, the life after having a stroke, also hopefully prevention methods. Because when you have one, you are likely to have others. I've witnessed that. Okay, it's not an easy journey, and the recovery doesn't get better. You know, it declines a little bit each time. Just being careful, you know. And I know it was hard to relive those moments and talk about it. Uh because y'all are like the audience is just watching and listening to you tell a story, which was told beautifully. But as someone who has witnessed that process, when you talk about the moments, you relive it. And when I see those tears gathering in his eyes, I know it's because it's real. It's real life, and it triggers you to reflect on that. And I identify with that. So when and people talk about him getting emotional, like as a criticism, I'm like, y'all don't have no idea. You know, you have no idea, and it tells me that you may not have been in that situation or aware with someone in that situation. But it's important to have empathy. You know, that is important. And people were like, "Oh well." Some of the criticism was like he should have waited a little bit more, waited until he was a little more sharper. There ain't no such thing as a little more sharper. Stroke is literally saying I'm not gonna be as sharp as I was. He's lucky to be alive. Like, and for him to want to talk about it, you know, to use his, because he could have just stayed silent. You know, he could just stayed at home, kind of did his thing, you know, whatever, gradually get back to it. Could have been 5, 10 years down the road. But like I said, when you have one, you're prone to have another. So he may have felt like, well, I feel good and I feel like I'm ready in this moment. I'm going to go, I'm going to put it out there. Whatever the audience thinks, the audience thinks. And you can tell he was really upset with that clone rumor because he was like, he started to roll his eyes a little bit. And he was like, I know once this hits the internet, because he was playing the piano, I know once this still hits the internet, Y'all still gonna say I'm a clone. He was like that. That was funny to me. And to be honest, I don't like fall over laughing on comedy specials, most of them. Like I never have. I feel like comedy specials, I don't put that much pressure on it for like laughter. If I enjoyed it, I enjoyed it. And then they was talking about like the audience was like kind of low vibes, and I don't feel like they were. I feel like the audience enjoyed it. And also something that I've learned from like doing comedy, because yes, I've done a set or two. Um, every audience is a little bit different. So they talk about having him practice. Okay, well you can do a set in one place and have the audience give you a standing ovation, and you can do a set, the same set in another place, and it's 50-50. So, and 1 minute he like kind of messed up on something. He was like, hold up, y'all. I had a stroke. I had a stroke. Like, yes, be considerate. Like, you can't put the same parameters on him as you would somebody else. And I think he did just as fine as any other comedian with a special. Had he not told us that and he went up there and performed, I wouldn't have known. So, a shout out to Jamie Foxx.